G'day guys, how are you going today? We are having a look at the Super Conqueror, the brand new tier 10 tank being introduced into World of Tanks, which will replace the FV215B. Now do not stress guys, if you do have the existing FV215B and you do like the tank and it's already in your garage, then do not worry because you will get that as a reward tank, and it'll be a pretty rare premium tank, well not a premium tank but reward tank, which you'll get to keep in your garage as well as receiving the Super Conqueror. So you get two tier 10 tanks for free, which is absolutely insane and pretty awesome in my opinion. But anyway guys, today I'm going to run through the history of this tank. We're going to go through the top 3 and the bottom 3 quirks of this tank. Then I'm going to give you a brand score for this tank, followed by a live replay, and then we're going to end with my final thoughts on this tank and whether or not you guys should go out and grind for it. So as always, let's start off with the history of this tank. Now many people weren't happy with the introduction of this tank because they thought it was just another fake tank, but this was actually a real tank. In fact, it was a variant of the Conqueror tank we see at tier 9 with the addition of extra armor protection, and you can see on the tank as well there are spots of spaced armor and extra armor as well. So it was manufactured during the first half of the 1950s and was used for testing the Dart and Malkara guided anti-tank missiles. During the testing, the vehicle played the role of a heavy tank that could potentially appear in the future, something with a lot of armor and could be very formidable in a real life battle. However, it never saw mass production, but there was a variant of it built. Now let's have a look at the top 3 and the bottom 3 quirks of this tank. Now this tank has HESH rounds as its high explosive variant, which are very potent and effective high explosive rounds, effectively with a huge amount of penetration, especially for an HE round. These ones have about 120 millimeters of penetration, which is much higher than on most other tanks in the game when it comes to high explosive rounds, which is great for lightly armored tanks, of course. Also, the cannon has best in class accuracy with gun handling, so that is that's pretty awesome, and it's something that came from the FV215B. Also, especially at range, this tank has superior armor and is a very fantastic long range sniper. But now getting onto the bottom 3 quirks, we can see that this tank has very poor mobility in general with a very low top speed as well, and also the FV215B it is replacing has significantly better overall gun handling and damage per minute. That thing had laser-like accuracy, whereas this thing just has laser-like accuracy. And also guys, it has a very high chance of being set on fire. In fact, it's 20% when the engine is hit, which is not great at all, and this thing does combust spontaneously very often. So let's go ahead and give this thing a brand score now. The DPM of this tank is 2580.65, giving it a 7 out of 10. Penetration wise, this tank has a penetration of 259, giving it another 7 out of 10. Gun handling wise, the shown dispersion value of this tank is 0.33, giving it a 3 out of 5, while the hidden dispersion value average of this tank is 0.134, giving it a 4 out of 5. Aiming time wise, this tank has an aiming time of exactly 2 seconds, giving it an 8 out of 10. And the gun vertical movement of the tank, or its gun depression and gun elevation angles, it has 7 degrees of gun depression, giving it a 3 out of 5, and 15 degrees of gun elevation, giving it a 2 out of 5. Now the survivability of this thing is quite interesting. Of course it is very good, but let me show you exactly how good in the armor schematics right now. As you can see, this thing has incredible amount of armor, or at least it looks like it. In fact, it does. Its turret armor is very well armored indeed, with angles of anywhere above 300 millimeters effectively, and with that spaced armor, it's absolutely insane. And the same thing is with the frontal hull armor. Technically, it's only 152 millimeters, but with 20 millimeters of additional spaced armor, as well as being angled back at about 12-15 degrees, this thing is absolutely insanely well armored. If we have a look at the collision model though, we can see just how well armored it is, guys. Usually guys, you might struggle to get through the front of the turret. This thing might have a bit of an issue getting, well, guns in general, but with this spaced armor it makes it almost impossible. Having said that, it does have a bit of area on the top which will be prone to anything above about 152 millimeters, which are quite a few cannons as well, so that can be overmatched quite easily if you're not careful. And also this area here can also be overmatched by anything about above 130 millimeters, 132 millimeters exactly. So you do have to be careful, but most things won't be able to go through it, and in general you're gonna have a very formidable tank frontally. Of course, 260mm isn't absolutely amazing, but it's still going to be a hit or miss for most standard shells that are fired at this tank, and from a very long distance as well, it might be very, very hard to penetrate this tank, which is why I think that this tank would be a very good long-range sniper, very well armored. Things are going to struggle to go through it, even with premium rounds. And speaking of premium rounds, heat rounds, or high explosive anti-tank rounds, are going to struggle very, very much against the front of this tank, and also HE rounds, because the heat rounds will lose penetration as they try and travel through that spaced armor and then have to go through the thick armor below it, and also at the top of it as well, of course. So heat rounds are not advised to shoot at this tank. Do not shoot at this tank with heat round, guys. It probably will bounce or not penetrate in general. And also, having a look at the lower frontal plate, we can see that this is definitely the weak spot on the front of this tank. Shoot here if you do want to go through it. It is quite easy to, by anything it really meets, even when well angled. And for all those reasons, guys, I'm giving this tank an 8 out of 10 for survivability, because it is very good with its armor, but it's certainly not the best, but it will hold up in so many circumstances that, yeah, this tank should get an 8 out of 10. But anyway, guys, moving on to the mobility of the tank, the power to weight ratio of this tank is 1:2.34 or 12.34, which is kind of cool for some reason to me. And that gives this tank a 2 out of 5, while the average traverse speed of this tank is 29, giving it another 2 out of 5. View range wise, this view range of the tank is 400 meters, which is absolutely absurd, giving it a 9 out of 10. And the concealment while stationary value, or its camouflage value whilst not moving or firing the cannon, is 4.62%, giving it a 2 out of 10. And value wise, now I believe that this tank is a very valuable tank. It feels like a nice little upgrade over the Conqueror, which is arguably already the best tier 9 heavy tank in World of Tanks at the moment, especially with its latest turret upgrade, where it also got spaced armor on the front, making its effective armor very, very high indeed. However, I still think there are tanks which are objectively better than this tank. For example, the mouse, the overpowered mouse, is probably a better bet if you just want something that you can pretty much dominate the battlefield in, right guys? But even so, this tank still does have its own place as a long-range sniper, with very good armor indeed, so you can brawl in the cities as well. So overall, guys, I'm giving this tank a very solid 8 out of 10. And thus, guys, the final brand score for this tank is 65 out of 100, which is the second highest, I believe, at the moment, just shy of the tier 10 Chinese tank destroyer, whatever it's called. I forget its name, it's so huge. But anyway, guys, enough babbling on. Let's have a look at some live gameplay, because unfortunately there aren't any replays here, so I'll give you my live thoughts on this tank, playing it for the first time and seeing exactly how it performs in game. So guys, just before we go into battle, I'm going to tell you my equipment setup. Right now, I've got vertical stabilizer to make that laser-like accuracy even more laser-like. I've got a large caliber gun, gun cannon, I don't know, the rammer, and I've got improved ventilation. Anyway, guys, let's go into a random battle and see just how well this tank performs. Now, do keep in mind as well, guys, that I'm going to have premium rounds fired at me left, right, and center. So do keep that in mind, because it just means that the armor of this tank won't really be reflective in this game as it will be, you know, on the standard general test server standard server where people aren't firing premium rounds at you. But it'll be interesting to see though how heat rounds, which will be shot at the tank, will go up against its pretty strong frontal armor. So I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. This is an absolutely beautiful tank model as well, guys. I really, really do like it. Yes, it looks just like a Conqueror, but it looks like a Conqueror on steroids, and that's pretty awesome. You can see here as well where the armor goes up at the front, and you can see it at the back as well. Now, the difference between this and the standard Conqueror should be the viewports up here, and also it's got a slightly different exhaust system or something like that, but I don't know, we'll see. Also, guys, please do excuse my ping. I don't expect to do amazingly in this game just because of it even, but yeah. We're in a pretty even matchup. Let me just increase my map size for you, and I'll put this up as well so you guys can see that. I am a bit worried about being fired at, but I'm going to take a very aggressive position here. Hopefully my on the move accuracy will be pretty good. So we were penetrated by one round. Oh, we're going to get absolutely destroyed if we're not careful. Oh no. Let's have another game. Take two, everybody. Let's not be an idiot this time. Let's play mildly well. I don't have any faith in my abilities as a tanker, but I still do want to see how this tank performs in game. Again, very beautiful to look at, honestly. I'm really loving these kind of spaced armored things holding it up. I think that's cool for some reason. It's also a pretty big tank as well, guys. The traverse speed definitely showing its slow speed. You can see the turret traverse is actually quite fast, which is nice. It's also got a bit of spaced armor, I think, underneath the barrel, which is pretty cool. I guess that's to make sure nothing can destroy the barrel very quickly and very easily. Donked that shot, but even if I hadn't, it would have gone into the ground anyway. I've probably been spotted. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on going, keep on keeping on. Remember guys, this lag is pretty bad, 400 ping almost. I might as well be playing on the current Asia server, to be fair, but whatever. We won't get into that. A big part of me does not want to go up onto the top of the hill, but I kind of feel I have to, as a heavy tank. We spotted a bat chat. Finally got a shot in. See Sheridan there. Would be nice. I hope that hit. Oh, I hit the ship barn behind it. See if I can't get another shot into him. No, I don't think so. But that's okay. I'm happy with hitting that tank over there. So far the accuracy seems pretty damn good, but not amazing either, guys. Don't expect this to be the FV215B. It's just not. It's pretty much a better armored, but a slightly slower FV215B. They've both got the same top speeds, but this thing has 1 horsepower a ton less in terms of its ability to move and accelerate. I'm not sure what the ground resistances are like. Also, this gun depression is not great towards the side, is it? I wonder if it's a bit better in the front. 7 degrees, I think, pretty much all around, which is okay, but nothing to be, incredibly happy about. But at least it plays more like the rest of the line. It's got a mid or almost front mounted turret, which is very much similar to the Conqueror, especially, of course, but also the tier 8 Carnarvon, which has a front mounted, I'm pretty sure, turret, and now that's been buffed and is very, very strong. Looks like our team is falling apart as well, guys. It's 5-0. To be fair, I haven't killed anyone either, but my team isn't doing very, very well, is it? So if I can't go up here and spot anybody, somehow I feel like I'm going to get very badly hit by something, and I think we've almost spotted him. Not quite. So it looks like someone fired a heat round into him, or a HE round, I should say. I think that this kind of position is very good for this tank, like a long-range sniping position. We couldn't have blocked that if we wanted to. That was an FV215B firing and heat round into us. We really don't want to get hit by that Type 5 Heavy either. I might load premium rounds and be one of those people. I didn't even know my loader was out. I'm getting hit by artillery, or artillery's taking shots at me anyway, which I don't really want, to be honest. Nah. Try and keep my armor pretty much straight on. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Nope. We get hit. Luckily, guys, spaced armor is pretty good for being hit by HE, but I guess you never really want to be hit by HE anyway. So I might just fix that and back the fuck up. Yeah. Nerfed armor my ass. That's not gonna work. Our team is just falling apart around us. Oh shit, we're the last surviving people up here. I'm gonna go forward a little bit, see if I can't take a shot at his armor. But yeah, this is not going well for us. Friends and friendos. That did 600 damage, far out. I'm sure he's firing the premium rounds, of course. And just like that, we're taken out, ladies and gentlemen. So just to give you my thoughts very quickly on how this tank performs. Obviously, this is not a great at all, you know, comparison to how it will perform on the live server, as this is a test server. People are firing premium rounds. I'm getting 400 ping, so this is not how the tank will perform as it will be on the live server. Having said that, I think that, and I'll give you my final thoughts at the end, this is a very good all-round tank, and I think the armor will be very forgiving in most matchups. You're not going to get into these HE matchups a lot, but you can see that going up against tanks like the Type 5 Heavy, it's just really hard to keep your ground and play well against those HE rounds. And as long as those kind of tanks are in the game, this thing is going to be very well balanced indeed, as it will just be taken out. And just having a look at the pretty poor post-game stats, we only did 1600 damage. Sadly enough, we were the third highest on our team in terms of damage, and that was a pretty poor play by me in general. We lost some credits, but that was because we were firing premium rounds, but I guess that was actually taken away. I don't know, it's probably not a very cheap tank to play, it seems, but you can see that we did 855, or pretty much just over half of the damage we did was from a longer range. This tank has a pretty damn good cannon in terms of being able to snipe, but, you know, its armor isn't necessarily going to be the best thing in the world. Don't expect just because this is a Super Conqueror that is super heavily armored. If you want a super heavily armored tank, go for a super heavy tank, because this is just not that. It will be able to be, you know, hit and penetrated by, you know, a fair few of the tanks it comes across at tier 10. Tier 9 and tier 8 tanks, though, will struggle to go through it. So what are my final thoughts on this tank, and should you get it? Well, personally, I think that if you love an all-rounder tank and you want a tank that's really great for random battles and even in Clan Wars battles for something that can really tank as well, I do think that this tank is worth the grind. The tanks leading up to it now are pretty strong, pretty fun to play. Yes, they're a bit slow leading up to about tier 7, but tier 8 to tier 10 at the moment are an absolute pleasure to play after their latest buff. So for sure, I think that the grind is definitely worth it. This tank will be a great addition to your garage. But anyway, guys, thank you so very much for watching. If you did like the video, please do leave it a thumbs up. If you're new, please do subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you next time.